Hello everyone, I'm Gregory Schnese and let's talk about Bitcoin Borrow Die. As always, these videos are not financial or tax advice, they're for educational purposes only. So in our previous videos, we went through the overall Bitcoin Borrow Die strategy, where we're buying Bitcoin, a rapidly appreciating asset, we're borrowing fiat against it and rolling the loans and not paying tax. And then when we pass on, uh, we'll pass our assets and our inheritors will collect them at a stepped up cost basis. In our previous videos, we touched on how this process and strategy works. It's all fueled by Bitcoin's growth. Bitcoin is growing much faster than we're taking out loans, and we can roll them over as time goes on. And then one main feature about this, as Bitcoin continues to appreciate, we actually can post less collateral over time, which is a really nice feature. And we covered this in our previous videos as well, why Bitcoin is the best money and collateral. So I'll only touch on this briefly today, but one way to look at monies and how we could judge how one money is better than another is through these properties of durability, portability, fungibility, verifiability, divisibility, scarcity, history, and censorship resistance. And Bitcoin competes very strongly against other forms of money, namely gold and fiat. And then looking at it as a collateral, some of the main metrics we would look at is liquidity, volatility, valuation ease, recovery rate, and regulatory risk. And then again, comparing Bitcoin against stocks and real estate, we can see it performs really well. So it's a great money and it's a great source of collateral, which both help propel this strategy. We covered this as well in our previous videos, but why borrow fiat? Because we're taking out debt against our Bitcoin holdings, so it's tax efficient, it's not income. We retain ownership of the Bitcoin so we can participate in the upside. And then we can continue to roll the loans and pay off one loan with a new loan as Bitcoin appreciates and generate perpetual income through debt. So now we'll get into the final step here. What happens when we die? We'll look at inheritance, cost basis, and then debt clearance. So when we pass, our assets will be transferred via will or trust, assuming you have one set up, which is important to do. There are no forced sales, so our inheritors can collect the assets as they are. They're valued at fair market upon our death, and the heirs gain full control of stocks, property, Bitcoin, and more. When we look at the cost basis, this is a really important piece of this strategy. So as the owner, let's say we bought Bitcoin at $10,000 and now it's worth $100,000. If we were to sell, we would have to pay capital gains on this additional increase, this 90,000 upside. But when our inheritors inherit the money, their cost basis is what's called stepped up. So if the Bitcoin is worth $100,000, their basis would be at $100,000. So the cost basis is original purchase price, gains taxed on sale normally. At death, the basis is stepped up to the current market value. So that's the difference between these blue lines here. And then it eases a lifetime of appreciation. Heirs can sell with zero capital gains taxes. If they were to sell, but we would encourage them to employ the Bitcoin Borrow Die strategy and continue to take out new debt and then roll that. And then what happens to our debt before the inheritors collect it? So they would be repaid after stepped up in basis for from the estate assets or life insurance. So for example, if we had $10 million in assets and $2 million in debt, $8 million would be clean for inheritance and with that stepped up cost basis again. And then this kind of closes the Bitcoin Borrow Die loop where we acquire Bitcoin as a rapidly appreciating asset. we borrow against it to avoid taxes and generate perpetual income. And then on our passing, we can clear our debt and our inheritors inherit the assets at a stepped up basis so they can continue the strategy or sell or exit or do something differently if they would like to. But this is an overall view of the Bitcoin borrow die strategy, and we'll cover more in the next video.